Kia ora. Since you all seem to enjoy the last week's lesson that I put together on how you can turn a major chord, once you know the shape, you can convert it to being a minor chord. This week I thought we'd continue on the same subject, and this time we'll turn a major chord, which will always be our default setting. You've got to start somewhere, right? Studying music's like this giant circle that's moving, and you've got to step onto this moving circle, and you're going to enter at any point. So this way we'll start with all of these videos. We'll start with a major chord as our parent chord, as the starting chord. So today we'll look at what you have to alter to make it a dominant chord. Not a major 7 chord, but a dominant 7 chord. And when you see those written out on a chord sheet, they're described as A7 or B7, C7, B flat 7. If they've got MAJ 7 after them, then it's another chord altogether, and we can have a lesson on how you create that as well. So today, just to recap very quickly, and we looked at triadic harmony. That is chords that are built using notes that are 3 letter names apart. There are other forms of harmony where you have a different number of letter names between each chord, which will give you between each note, which gives you quite a different effect. So there are limits, I guess, to what we can do, but you can be incredibly creative in how we build chords and create chords. So if you are interested, drop me a line and we can have a video on that as well. So without further ado, how do we make a dominant 7 chord, or a 7 chord? So to do that, we're going to have a chord that's going to have 4 notes in it, just to get started. So last week, just to recap, we looked at a straight major chord, and we're going to look at the same 2 chord shapes, the A chord and the E chord, and how we converted that to minor. Today we'll look at how we're going to convert it into a 7 chord. Right, without further ado, we've only got 6 strings, so whatever we choose to do, we have got to fit it onto the 6 strings. When we start getting into complicated chords with extensions, that's when we have to start swapping notes out, and there are protocols for what replaces what, so that you keep the integrity of the chord and get the sound that we are particularly looking for. So let's have a look at our A chord for starters. Perfect place to start. It's a nice straightforward shape and a power chord, used as a power chord when we're playing bar chords, so it's a very good place to start. So A is a given. So all of these chords, you have to start with the root of the chord, which will give it its proper name of the chord. So A is going to be the root, or the starting note for the chord of A. So every string has to be either an A or one of the other 3 notes we're about to work from. So the next note we need to have, and this is a really important one because it defines the quality of the chord, is the 3rd degree of the scale. 3 letter names above A. Counting A is 1. A, B, C sharp. Okay, it has to be C sharp. So 3 letter names. If it's not C sharp, it won't be a major chord. It is this note, the 3rd note in the scale, that determines whether the chord is major or minor. So it's very important. It's one of the notes we don't want to ditch when we're having to substitute one note for another. So C sharp. The next note that we should have in the chord is 3 letters names above the C, or if you want to start recalculating from the A, which is a good idea, we'll do it from there. A, B, C sharp, D, E. So we need an A, a C sharp, and an E. So we've got 2 open E's, that's covered. We have the C sharp, which we have put with, we had to use we'll use the 2nd finger for reasons that will become clear. And we're going to turn G, not in the chord, is it? We haven't got there yet. Alright, so the next note we need, we want A, C, and an E. So I'm going to change the D to an E, which will be here on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So now I've got E, A, E, third string, sorry, what am I talking about? C sharp, E. So E, A, E, jumping a string, C sharp, E. Okay, A major. Right, now, what decides what note what the D string in this case is going to change to is logistics. Where's the nearest A or E or C sharp to the D? So the nearest C sharp somewhere up here. So not really likely, is it, no matter how big your hand is? So that's what determines what the string is going to be changed to. Now, as I say, to make a dominant chord, we have to have a fourth note in the scale, and that's going to be the flat 7, which means it's a whole step or 2 frets below the root. Root is A. So if I want to make A, we've got 3 of them now. We play A in the conventional fingering, all on the 2nd fret, 4th, 3rd and 2nd string. So I can easily get rid of 1, I can get rid of 2, and I've still got the root. So we have to find the 7th degree of the scale, the 7th letter name. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we know it's got a C sharp, it's going to be the note of G. So where's our nearest G? So I've got 2 places I can choose to play it. One, I can play the 3rd string with no finger on it, because we don't have to change it, because we've already got another A here to deal with it, so we're covered. So straight away it's got that tension between the A and the G, between the root and the flat 7. More on that later as to why we call it that. Just know that it is, and play it. So there was the A, and I'm going to drop it down 2 frets, 1, 2, and that gives me A dominant A7, dominant 7, and it desperately wants to go home, which will be a D. More on that in another lesson. So that's one way of making our A7. I've got another way I could easily do with the fingering that I can easily access in this position. I can play A in its normal ray and play the G natural, the G, on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So I play A plus 1. And it has a very different effect. These can be used interchangeably as to taste. If you're toggling between a D and an A7 endlessly, you can mix it up to give it some variety. Now you had 3 sounds, but only 2 chords. So this is, we call that voicings on the guitar. Where do I want to put the 7? Do I want it up here, or do I want it in there? And it's to taste. Which do you think sounds better? Which one do you want to hear in the context of the song? Word of warning, if you are working with a singer and the singer is singing an A, you probably don't want to be playing it the 7 on the 1st string, because that's the effect. And the singer won't particularly like you very much, because they're trying to accurately sing that while you are hitting that. A good singer, not a problem, but it's also going to add a lot of tension into the song, which you might want to. Artistically, you might think, yeah, that's what the song calls for. I want more bite there, I want a gnarly sound, I want more tension there. So this is how you can, knowing these things, you can then adapt the song to how you think it should sound, to accentuate your interpretation of the song. Something that is super, super important. So to make an A, any major chord into a dominant chord, we have to add the 7th degree of the scale, and we just count up the alphabet: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F, G. Number 7, lucky number 7, we have to have a G natural. Now, some of you would know already that the key of A major has got a G sharp in it. If I play a G sharp, which belongs in the scale, different chord altogether. Really tense, but really stable. It's quite happy being tense. Doesn't have this desire to go anywhere. Not like the dominant 7, which is another half step, 1 fret, 1 semitone, all the same thing, lower. And the same if you want to play it a major 7. Beautiful, beautiful chords. I love these chords. Or simpler fingering is just put a half bar over there, and again, if you're playing with a singer and the singer has an A, they will really kill you if you play a G sharp under them. They will hate you. So be sensitive. Be also aware, if you've got a bass player, what's bass playing? If they're going down towards the 7, and they may do, you want to get out of the way. So music is about being cooperative. It's not about any one player in the band, no matter how terrific they are. We all have to be listening all the time and responding to what we hear all the time. And let your fingers guide you. Half the time they know better than you do. They'll hit for the right chord, even if you're going, they know where to go. So, to recap, we have started with a major chord, in this case A, and we want to add the 7, the flat 7. That's why it's called the flat 7. It's gone down 2 half steps, or 1 whole step. There's a lot of information in these videos, because I'm assuming that you're watching them more than once, and there's something you can just refer to as you progress as a musician. You can go, oh, what was that again? And you can go back and check out the video and add to your knowledge. But don't limit yourself. Play it again, and this is why I'm here. I'm easy to contact. Just drop me a line in the comments, send me a message, and I can explain something in a different way that's going to suit your learning style. And remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers. Right, so to make a dominant chord, we have the root, then we have the 1, and we have A, B, C sharp, the 3rd. So often, especially in jazz, we'll talk about the degrees of the numbers rather than the letter names, because it's the degrees that matter, the numbers that matter, because it's the number of the number that we're going to alter to make it major or minor or dominant or any of these other cool chords that we're going to be looking at in the future. So we have A, C sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is an E, 6, 7, flat 7, remember, because it has to be a flat 7, so it is a dominant chord. It's essential, one of the essential chords you need to know in all 12 keys, and we only have 12 keys. There are no more on a tonal instrument like this. If you're playing instruments from other cultures, that's a whole other set of harmony and a whole other set of thinking. So we have an E in the bottom, because the nearest note to change will be somewhere up here. Again, the fingering gets really clumsy. So we've got an E, yep, that's the 3rd. We've got an A, that's the 1. We've got another E, that's the 3rd again. Now we're going to have this 3rd string as a G. That's our flat 7. It's a whole step, or 2 half steps, or 2 frets below the A. A C sharp and an E, that's the 3rd, and another E. which is the fifth. So we've got 5, 1, 5, 7, flat 7, flat 7, 3, just the one, and yet another fifth, A7. Or we can do it like that, which gives us E, A, C sharp, G. So we have 5, 1, 5, flat 7, 3, flat 7. And if you really want to, there's no reason you can't have both sevens, have two of them. Different, isn't it? So you can get all kinds of effects if you've got a chord that's continuing for several bars and you're staying on the same chord. Less slightly sometimes with a dominant chord, but not necessarily. You can change, sounds like something's moving, sounds like something's happening. Something is moving. But you're not altering the harmony in any way at all. Choosing to do that in the middle of the guitar neck, you're probably well out of the way of the bass player, the horn players, the singers, you're well out of the way of everybody, so you can have some fun and give a bit more energy to the music. And this is also going to help you when you are learning songs just by ear, when you're listening to a track and you really want to play on Spotify or whatever, can't find anything about it on YouTube. You're making it up as you go along, you're finding what the chords are, and you can hear them doing. But I know it's only a 7, or you have found the chords, it's only an A7. What's happening? That's what's happening. That's your first place you're going to look to see what's happening. So this is going to expand your vocabulary on the guitar as well. Now, we can do the same with our E chord. So let's have a look at our E chord to recap. We've got a E shape, which I'm going to assume everybody is comfortable with. I'll just quickly, 1, 2, 3, first fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, second fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, second fret. Okay, there's E. So we have an E. That's your one. E, F, G sharp. Has to be a G sharp, or it won't be an E chord, a major chord. So E, E, F sharp, G sharp. Sorry, I should have called it correctly. E, F sharp, G sharp. That's your 3. So E, G sharp, 1, 3, A, B is our 5th. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. Now to make it a 7, 6 is a C sharp, and the flat 7 will be D. So it's going to be one letter name before. So if the root is an E, the 7th will be some kind of D. In this case, a flat D, the flat 7, yeah, flat 7 is a D. Okay, so we have E, which is I'll do the letter names first, then we'll go back and count the degrees of the scale. So we have an E and a B, so that's the 1. B is the 3rd, another E, 1 again, and a G sharp, which is the 3rd, the B is the 5th, now E is the last one. Now what am I going to do to make that into a flat 7, a dominant chord? So I've got to add the flat 7, so the most obvious place to start is change one of these E's and make it one whole step or 2 frets lower. So how do I do that? Okay, I can't change the 2 outer strings without changing the tuning on the guitar, so we can forget that. But we do have another E here in the middle of the chord on the 4th string. So I have to take that and drop it 2 half steps or 2 frets. So 1, 2. It's open string. And now we have that very familiar sound, dominant 7 chord. So we have an E, B, a D, a G sharp, a B, and an E. So now let's have it by number, which is also their function, how they're acting in this chord. The E is a 1, the B is the 5th, the D is a flat 7, the G sharp, 3rd string, is the 3rd, the B is the 5th again, and the E is the 4th again. Now once again, I can choose to put the 7 in a different place. I can change the B string, which is, at the moment, it's the 5th, but I've already got it here. And anyway, the 5th is the most redundant note in the chord. If anything has to go, it can be the 5th. Okay, now we're going to add the 4th finger onto the 2nd string in the 3rd fret, which will give us our flat 7, our D natural. Again, it desperately wants to go home. Or we can have both, we can change 2 of them and have 2 7s in the chord. We don't do that so often. One's usually enough. Because after all, it's just that texture, the flavour, and the all-important driving it home to its home key. Now, don't go too far and make this too complicated. So, an E7 is desperately wants to go home to A. Always. It doesn't have to. There are ways you can avoid that. You can take the long way home or the direct way home, and we're going to deal with the straight home, no messing about. So E7 will generally want to go to A. Just to recap, look very quickly at our A7, it's going to want to go to D, always. Say 9 times out of 10 that's exactly where it will go, but there are no all the time in music. Some of the best music doesn't stick to the rules. Bach, the classical composer Johann Sebastian Bach, is famous for that. His music is incredible, and half the time it's not written to any rules, it's contradicting all the rules. He's writing the rules and making them up as he goes along. But to do that successfully, you have to know what those rules are in the first place, and then you can knock yourself out and break all of them as you like. The further away you move from the rules, the more avant-garde and less conventional your music will sound. That doesn't mean it's not good. Just got a small audience. So, to make a major chord and turn it into a dominant chord, a 7 chord, you have to add this flat 7 from that scale that the chord is derived. And you do that by taking the root of the chord and dropping it down. It's easier to see if I put it there, down 2 frets. And voila, you have a dominant chord. Now you can apply that to every other chord shape you know, from all of them. And the shape will be determined by the position you are in and where the nearest flat 7 is that you can actually reach on that string. So there are always going to be notes that are doubled up. Once again, we've stuck with the A and E form because those are the ones most commonly we love to use on guitar, especially in contemporary music. Blues chords, in blues music, you will have already noticed, those who've looked at my blues videos or have been playing blues for ages, you often have a whole bunch of 7 chords and they're not going home, so what's happening with that? Again, it's a specific style of music with its own set of conventions or rules. I prefer conventions because rules sounds a bit hidebound, but that will be a subject of a later video. So please hit me with your questions. That's why I'm here, and I really love teaching, so please hit me up with any questions or comments. Feedback, really helpful. This is boring, less of this and more songs. Let me know. I'm here to produce these videos for for all of you out there who want to improve their guitar playing or increase their understanding. So feel free to share them around. Check out my YouTube channel for those of you who want to see. I'll post a link in a separate posting. So those of you who are not comfortable clicking on links on Facebook, and it's not a good idea, so more power. But if you want to check out the videos these lessons on my YouTube channel, you'll need to follow the link because they're not they're unlisted videos, so they don't mess up with this other stuff I've got up there. So have fun doing that, and I'm really keen to hear your feedback and how useful you found this. And please, it's quite all right for you to go, no, it wasn't useful at all. So please do tell me. It helps a great deal in me and what lesson how I'm going to build a lesson for each week. So next week I shall be back. At this time we'll probably look at another song, and we'll quickly link it back to how we made it a 7th chord, and because it'll have a dominant chord in it for sure. And then we can go back to dealing with another subject on harmonic subject on how we can alter the chords further. Okay, so have fun with this, and I hope you're staying warm in this rather nasty storm. And ka kite.